It's Saturday, April 12th, 2025, and it's a really nice, beautiful, sunny, warm day. They forecasted to be overcast today, and it might turn into that, I suppose. It's about 1 in the afternoon, so I think this is pretty well as good as it's going to get. But look at the bees on this pollen sub. The pails over there and the feeder here. It's just a really nice sight to behold, particularly after last year's situation, for sure. This one hasn't gone down much. It's still there. I can see it looks like these have gone down. They're down to about there now. There's a lot of bees in there. I don't know what brand of feed this is. That's the Ultra Bee. I suspect that's a Bee Pro, but it might be even a Feed Bee product. Feed Bee is a Canadian-made product, so that's nice. I understand that the trade situation is such that the Ultra Bee has gone up in price a lot, and I mean a lot. I'm so glad that I had that bag of Ultra Bee because I've always had good success with it. I like the product, but I had actually bought a bag of Feed Bee from my retailer, and then I discovered that I had an unopened bag of Ultra Bee, so I returned it. So sorry, Feed Bee. I'll keep you in mind for next year. But yeah, this is really nice to see. Okay, so I got along really well here yesterday before I had to go. I got more than well over half of this done. So I'll show you what that looks like. So you know that my apiary is laid out in nice straight lines and square corners, which doesn't do anything for the bees. It just helps me stay organized and to have space to drive my tractor down between the rows, and the actual quads, as I call them, so the pairs of pallets are spaced similarly, so I can actually drive that way too. Usually I only drive the tractor that way when I'm cutting the grass. And so what I did yesterday, it's so bright I can hardly see the screen. So all of this row and all of this row I got done. So I'm sure that's more than half, because there are a similar number of colonies in this row, but there really aren't very many in that row. That's the outdoor wintered row. And you can see this equipment off to the side, these gray poly boxes, these piles. Those are just windbreaks. I put those there for the winter. So once the ground is all thawed, which I think those are thawed now, and once I can get the tractor out here again, which I can't because it's so wet and muddy, I'm using my wagon to haul things back and forth, then I'll pick those up and move them away so they're not in the way when I want to drive the tractor around. But all this talking ain't getting the work done, so I got to tie into these. Okay, here we go. Using the Dadent smoker today. These three actually came from a hobby beekeeper last year, and they were 2023 queens. So I should be looking at placing those this year, although you know they look just about as good as anything else, really. Today shouldn't be quite as backbreaking because all these hives are on my little stands, which brings them up another, I don't know, 7 inches. I've got my Maxon hive tool today. I found with the other hive tool yesterday, it wasn't scraping as good. I think it's too sharp. These are not as sharp, and they don't dig into the wood. They're a good mix. They're sharp enough to get you know, wax and propolis, etc. But they don't dig in. So what are we going to call this? I think I'm going to call it a 2. My impression is it'll be fine, but it's nothing to really write home about. But it's alive, right? That's what we're looking for. Should bring another round of feed soon. Now this one, there's a story here. This one I'd called dead. I came out the other day and the lid was upside down, indicating it's a dead out. And it's not dead at all. So they actually went through a fairly cold night with nothing more than just the foamy. Well, the lid was there, but it was upside down. Oopsie daisy. But they're alive. So, I mean, that shows, you know, somebody's asked me yesterday how cold the bees can tolerate. And I'll tell you, they'll tolerate a lot. Especially when they're not brooding. These colonies are not brooding in earnest. There's perhaps brood there, but they're not full on putting all their effort into it. So give them 2s. I'm sorry for the heavy breathing. This one looks nice. It's quite nice. I say they look nice, but there's just a bunch of bees sitting on top, which, you know, really have to check the bottom, but I'm not going to tip them today. I'm just getting these patties on. The left hand. Not like I'm Inigo Montoya or anything. Certain things are difficult left hand. I'll give that a 2 as well. It might deserve a 3, but we'll go with that. This is nice. But again, you know, there's probably only that many bees deep in the box. Need to get them to turnover. That's what we talk about in April. We talk about turnover. Get these clusters expanding in size instead of contracting like they have been doing all winter. Might deserve a 3, but they're going to get a 2. Well, that's a nice looking one. Hopefully it's not just a few bees on top. They're all in here. I can hear that real roar when they start to fan. That tells me there's a few bees down in there. Come on. But a lot of these are still just 2s. You know, I'm happy with 2s. I'm happy with bees that are alive. That's what I'm happy with. I can tell where the cluster is by how this wax scrapes, because where the cluster is, it's warmer. This wax is a little softer. It's a little more difficult to scrape sometimes. This wax is colder, and when I hit it with the hive tool, it just kind of shatters and breaks off of there right away. Okay, I got a bunch of 2s today. That's okay. 2s are okay. Okay, this is interesting. You're going to experience this live with me. This one looks okay. But look what I'd written on there. You maybe can't see it. It says chalk. This hive I had kind of given up on last fall, because I noticed they had a little bit of a chalk brood infection. But they were hanging on, and I thought, well, okay. Did my formic, as you can see. I did my oxalic acid. And they're still alive. So once the weather is warmer, I checked at the entrance. I don't see any chalkbird mummies. And we'll give it a real thorough inspection in that regard. But, you know, it's here, right? I'll give them a 2 as well. Oh, this one might have... Boy, there's not much left of this. I don't think I'm gonna waste a pollen patty on that. I'll get value out of this wax. Yeah, I don't know what's left of this at all. Maybe nothing. But I'm not wasting my time with it. This is the one I forgot about when I fed them. I had to bring them a jar. Okay, I heard her complaining under there. They're not a bad looking little group of bees. And nicely scraped clean. That's a little bit strange. Now, you've seen me as I work here and clean up the wax. You've seen me scrape the remnants of these tablets out. And I don't want anybody drawing any conclusions from that, because you might not guess why I'm doing that. I don't think the tablets hurt anything. Do I have conclusive evidence that they do a lot of good? No, I don't. I don't think they hurt. There are a lot of people who have seen benefit. So I don't want you drawing any conclusions about product performance. I'm not saying good or bad either way. The reason I'm doing that is I'm trying to get back to basics this year with as very few treatments and supplements and everything as possible, because I've been having trouble, and I feel like I need to simplify everything so that I can maybe solve some of my problems. Oh, now I have to decide if that's a 0 or a 1. It's nasty. I don't know if I should even waste a patty on that. There's no foamy on here. Oh yeah, there is. This one makes up for it. This is another one that was, both these here were virgin queens given to me by a fellow beekeeper around here. I'm glad I wrote the names on these because as I work, I get to be reminded of how gracious these beekeepers were to me in my hour of need, as they say. And I can think about them, and I can be thankful for them and thankful for their gestures and their assistance. Don't ever think that a small gift is not a gift, right? When a guy is down like that, any gift is a gift. It's valuable. And I encourage people to put their heart into their gifts. But even if it doesn't turn out to be much, you tried. You tried to help. I got 3. Oh yeah. See, it always looks nice when they're right up on the feed. It's not very conclusive, but if there's nobody there, that's kind of conclusive, right? Okay, those virgin queens, I'd say, worked out pretty good. Oh, that doesn't look good. Looks dead is what it looks like. It is dead. Need more fuel. Oh, the yellow bees. Well, I got through those, and I'm tired. My back is sore. A lot of bending over, stooping. That always makes my back sore. So I took this hive-top feeder off. I poured the syrup into a jar. Of course, the jar's full now because they hadn't taken any of the syrup, which is too bad. They missed out during the cold weather. So I'm content with what I'm seeing. See a lot of 2s, a few 1s. There's a couple of 0s, but they're there, but they're not going to be there long. There's nothing I can do for them. And there's actually maybe 3 or 4 graded a 3. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy with the numbers. So there's probably about 70, I'm going to say 73. So took the quilt boxes off the 2 that still had. I'll take those back to the yard. And I'm going to want to get some more feed out here soon. I have a conundrum how to get the feed out here. I'm thinking that my process should have been last fall to end up with my tank of feed out here. Because this is always the same problem every spring. I can't get my truck, trailer, tractor, nothing out here. If anything moves between here and the yard, it's in my wagon. And I could go around and collect pails, fill the wagon, traipse back to the yard, fill them up, bring them back. I've done that before. That's a lot of work. That really wears me out. And I don't want to think about doing that, but I might have to. The wagon is great. It gets pretty hard to pull in soft ground and particularly mud. But especially if, once I get the pails filled up and start coming back. So I'll figure that out. Maybe I'll just bite the bullet, drive the tractor out, and make some ruts. I likely will. Oh well, I'm rambling now. So it's nice to see that the bees are still on the dry feed here. And so overall, this took me a couple hours to do this. Regardless, thanks for watching. It's Tuesday, April 15th, 2025. It's surprising that we're halfway through April, but I'm glad we are. The bees are doing well. The weather's been decent, and the forecast is good. We need that. Our season is such that the bees come out of winter early April, and they have to then start the brood cycles, get the brood nest going, and start replacing those bees. We have a cycle that kind of bottoms out late April, right around the end of April, and anybody that's too weak to kind of make that turnaround and start increasing just doesn't make it. And there's a few here that aren't going to make it, but we'll keep tending them until they do or they don't. Now today it's only about 6°C, very sunny. It's a beautiful day, and the bees, it's warm enough for the bees to collect on the dry pollen supplement. It's kind of situated nicely because it's behind some stacked equipment. It's not that windy here, and it's got some solar reflection off the boxes. There's bees walking all over those boxes. So they get all the help they can get because it's not warm. It's like I say, it's 6°C. I think that's about 44 F. So I'm interested to see how much. I think I can see the sun shining through here. It's about that full. So they're about 4 inches out of this maybe. And we had a threat of rain. We actually got more than rain. We got snow 2 nights ago. And we got quite a little bit of snow. Got a couple inches blanket. So I had closed up the other pails, which I can see the bees are fussing around them anyway. But, well, here you can see it was windy too. The pails, this is a problem with pails, is they're light enough when they're empty, then they blow away. So that's a problem because now there's open holes on top of those hives. I even have a jar over there sitting on the hive. It's not upside down, it's laying on its side. So what I'm here to do now is I'm gonna kill some bugs. I'm gonna kill some Varroa mites. And so I've got my oxalic acid vaporizers ready. I've got batteries, I've got acid, I've got my PPE, and I'm going to go out here and kill some bugs. I don't know that I maybe have time, probably have time, but I don't think I have enough battery to do everything. But we'll do what I have battery for. We'll kill as many mites as I can, and then tomorrow it's going to be even warmer than today. They say that you know, non-flight weather is the best time to treat for mites with oxalic acid vapor. I personally am not too concerned about that. And I may be misinterpreting what he says. However, I do listen to a lot of what Randy Oliver says, and I know he's talked about how long does the oxalic acid stick around in the hive and on the bees after you treat. And while it's not a long time, it's a day, you know. So even though there might be some bees out of the hive when I treat, they'll go back in the hive and they could come into contact then with oxalic acid crystals in the hive that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I'm kind of relying on for being too concerned about choosing a cold day. It's partly because I don't like working on a cold day either. In the fall, it's much easier. We get a cooler day and I can do this. Now, in the fall, I'm normally wearing my jacket in the fall, but today I'm not. And it is a bit cool out here. It's one of those temperatures that it's too warm for a jacket and it's pretty cool for a t-shirt, mostly because we have a north-northwest, north-northeast breeze going on here. So let's get to this and kill some mites. Okay, I've got my my twin InstantVaps here. I love these things. Now I'm starting with two 3-amp batteries. That's kind of small. These are a couple of 5-amp batteries, and this is a 9. And really, you should have a minimum of 5 or 6. 6 is kind of the recommended minimum. 5 is pretty good. I'm going to put my mask on now, so you won't be able to hear me very well. I'm going to do 2 grams today. I only have half a container. I need to get more.
It doesn't take long. 2 grams. Doesn't take long at all. I love that the LED is bright enough. I can see it in the sun.
That didn't take very long. And I'm a little out of breath and stuff because I don't like wearing that mask. And also, with 2 of these things, I gotta move fast. Well, faster than I normally move. I did probably about 65 colonies there. Maybe not quite 65 because I've got about 12 to go. I did these 3 rows except for the one in the way far corner. Batteries are all ran out by then. That's okay. I knew I wasn't going to do them all. So charge up tonight and hit it again tomorrow. I'll come out here. I'm going to try and get some more feed on these. It's said to be a far nicer day tomorrow, and that'll be good. The ground is still soggy, but it's getting a little better now, so I think I'll chance bringing the tractor out with some feed. All right, well, that's it for today. We'll bring you back tomorrow in feeding time. That's boring stuff too. Thanks for watching. It's Wednesday, April 16th, 2025, and I just noticed I've got veil head. I've had my veil on today, and I've got a ring around my head. Well, I've had a pretty productive day, I think. It's been a little bit tiring, but the big job is I fed all my bees again. I did manage to get my tractor out here, as you can see. Just barely dry enough to get the tractor out. Making a little bit of a mess, but not too bad. I started the day by finishing the oxalic acid vapor along this side and the one in the far corner. So as those vaporizers, those InstantVap compacts work, that did not take very long. The very, very worst part by a long shot of doing that job is putting that respirator on, wearing that thing. It's just not very nice, not very convenient. But that is no fault of the vaporizer. Those InstantVaps are going to go a long way to keeping my colonies healthy, I think. If I can come out here and apply some oxalic acid vapor to half my bees in an hour or something, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. So the guys I'm talking to are talking about a lot more oxalic acid vapor. They're talking about every week or so, giving it a round of that. People talk about different amounts, and 2 or 3 grams I think is plenty. But I put 2 on these. It goes fast if you don't use as much, and I think you still get a good kill. However, I'll leave that discussion for another day. It's 13C. It's been a very windy day. The wind has just calmed down a little bit now. And I'll see how much feed is in this feeder still. Oh, it's still right up there. So it's mostly buzz going on here. But so I put on another half gallon of feed. And now, why did you put half a gallon, you say? Well, 2 reasons. I don't have tons of feed on hand, and I don't have any sugar to make any more right now. I actually was in town last Friday. I was going to buy sugar. I forgot. So that's my excuse. Took away a few more dead outs. The dead out pile is starting to get a little bit bigger, but I knew that was going to happen. There's just a few of those really small ones just don't make it. They just don't make it. So there's no sense in wasting feed on them. Cleaned up, of course I got the tractor out, so I moved all of this extra equipment away. All this stuff that was sitting in the aisleways, so now I can get around a little better. You know, there's a few colonies here that really look nice. Pulling the pails off, very vigorous, good population. No, still small. You know, they're not InstantVap strong, they're small. But she went down my shirt. I think she's attacking the mic thing. But anyway, I just wanted to update you on what I did because I didn't do any video today. So, go away. Joe, she's going to get me yet. All right. Catch you up later. Take care and have fun. It's Thursday, April 17, 2025. It's a cold day. It's 6, I think, C. It's fairly sunny, a little light overcast, so you don't get much warming from the sun, but there's a stiff north wind, and oh, does that ever make it cold to be outside. So I've set myself up in the shop here to work for the day, or at least for the next few hours. And I've got a bunch of plywood here. So I'm taking on a fairly big project for a customer. It's a large warming cabinet. And if you think that the warming cabinet I use is large, this one is, well, this one is going to be twice that size. Not twice that size in every dimension, it's going to be twice that deep. It'll be about the same size, height and width, but it'll be, as I say, twice as deep. What this guy wants to do is he wants to warm barrels, but he also has limited ability to cart these barrels around. So he's thinking maybe he would like a cabinet big enough that he can actually put a full-size skid in it. I said, okay, we'll do that. And that poses some challenges as far as material usage goes, because as you may know, plywood comes in generally in 4x8 sheets, 4 foot by 8 foot sheets. So in order to make a cabinet that's 4 feet cubed, and I don't know that I want a big overlap where the sides meet. I'd like to have it 4 feet in all directions, but that causes, some design considerations. So what I want to know is, I think I know the answer to this, but I want to confirm. The main carcass is going to be made from 5/8 plywood, and thankfully this is actually 96 1/8. I was hoping that it wouldn't be right on 96, because then I was going to come up with 48 less half a kerf, which might not sound like much, and it's not much. However, with a 48-inch pallet, it might be the difference between working and not working. So I've got my table saw. I had to spend some time cleaning the table saw off. Of course, I've got it set up here to 48 inch, and this is one of those times you can get this saw with, I think, is it 2 or 3 sizes of rails, and the one size is, I think, 32. It's either 32 or 36 inch rails maybe, and this one is a 52-inch rail, so I can actually go beyond that by a little bit. I'll have to set it again. So I can go to 52, 53, or maybe more inches on that. I rarely do. As you know, this table saw ends up with things piled on the side. Then when I want to do a wide cut, I need to clean it off. But it's there when I need it, and today I need it. Now the first thing I need to do is get this giant sheet on the table saw. As a younger man, I would just pick these sheets up like that and overhand them onto the table saw. But I'm finding that's getting a lot harder to do as I age. This is a 5/8 sheet. So it's not quite as heavy as a 3/4, but it's still heavy in its own right. Pull it back like that. I want to showcase this gadget that I bought years ago. It seems overpriced for what it is, but it's not overpriced for what it does for you. Lift that up onto the leg up, and see, I have a hard time getting this whole thing in the shot. I've just got my hands here, and I'm sort of pushing down a little bit on the front. Not a lot, I don't have to really lift it, but then I pull back. If you put that leg up in the center, you can do this with one hand. Let me move it up a little bit. Okay, so that's the bulk of the work right there, because I'm just going to pull it toward myself. And I mean, I'm serious, that is so easy to do. It just pivots there, right up on the table, grab it, and pull it toward me. The leg up falls back into place, and Bob's your uncle. So if you're struggling with putting material on your table saw like that, get a leg up. I think I bought that from Lee Valley. I think it cost me about 75 bucks, but it's well worth it. Okay, I'm going to get my PPE on here, and we'll fire up the saw and cut this sheet in half. I put a high tooth count, brand newly sharpened blade on there, and that cut like butter. That's beautiful. Now these are presumably 4 feet square. Well, I believe they are. So what I want to do with these is I want to build the sides. I need 2 sheets for this job, but I don't have my second one. I need to buy it at the store. So I had this one on hand. I thought, well, I'll just cut this and I'll build my sides, because the 2 sides are identical, and then I can get started on this project at least. I've got some 3/8 over here that is for the top. Actually, this one's a half. Well, maybe I'll use the half for a top. I'll decide which one to use. I want the top to be a little bit lighter, because we're making this with a top that kind of will lift up a bit for access. So what I need to do now is I need to basically build a frame around the sides. I'm going to cut that frame out of 2x4s, because I want the frame to be 1.5 inches wide by 1 inch thick. So 1 inch thick, that's too thick to use 3/4 inch lumber. So I need to cut this at 1 inch and then use that inch piece. And the reason I went with 1 inch is because I want to put 1 inch of polystyrene on this, so that it has to be the same thickness as the polystyrene. This is a little unusual. I have the fence set to the left side of the blade, just because I want to leave these big pieces of plywood sit here, and I don't have a lot of room to work on that side. So we'll try this out. I think it'll work just fine. I need to try a resawing operation here. I want to take these 2x4s, I want to leave them 3.5 inch, but I want to shrink them down to 1 inch. I could use my planer, but I don't want to use the planer because, oddly enough, the planer is better for planing hardwood because softwood has really hard knots. The knots on a softwood lumber piece are extremely hard, and they have in the past damaged the knives on my planer. Now, I think that speaks both to how hard that knot is and how crappy the blades are on the planer, you know, the blades that come from the factory. So I'm going to try to resaw this. This operation is, you know, presents a few challenges. Running lumber through this way is always a little weird. This is still pretty good. It's 1.5 inches. It doesn't tip. I've got my featherboard set here to hold it against the fence. But also the fact that I can only cut 3 inches high with my blade. This is 3.5. So I need to make 2 passes. I've got my blade set to just over 2 inches, so it'll go, you know, just over halfway here. And then I have to flip it around and go through again. I want to cut both sides, so the piece that I end up with will be the piece out of the middle, because I want to get rid of these rounded edges. So I've put a thin kerf combination blade in the saw. I don't want to try to rip with that high tooth count blade. This is going to create some heat on the blade, running it up into a piece of wood like that. So I wish, this is a combination blade, I wish I had my rip blade for this, but I had to compromise between this is a sharper blade and it's a thinner kerf, but it's got more teeth, so I'm compromising there. Okay, a visual for what's going on here is these wide ones. One will go at the front, one will go at the rear, and the one at the rear will overhang enough to meet up with the next sheet at the back. And which I need 2 more of those, and then these will be cut to length to go between those two at the top and bottom, and that'll make a nice 1-inch cavity here for the polystyrene to nestle into. I can cut that very accurately with the table saw and make it a real nice tight snug fit. I'll put my washers and screws in there and probably put six screws here and 6 screws there, because the polystyrene I buy is generally 2 feet wide. So that's what's going on here. What do you say we try to put some of this together? I'd like to screw this together as well as glue it. So I think I'm going to do it like this. Put this part underneath there and screw it from the inside of the cabinet. This is the inside, that's the outside of the cabinet. I can't find my other glue, so I'll use the good stuff. Okay, so I've got the front piece, that's the 3.5-inch wide piece, on there with 1 5/8 exposed. And the reason that is that will line up with the door. The door will sit in here, the hinge will sit on this surface here. So now I want to put these 1.5-inch pieces on the top and bottom right in there. It's not rocket science, but you can do it wrong pretty easily. Okay, so that's the inside of the cabinet. Let's have a look at the outside. That's the outside. Not much to it, but it is what it is, right? Okay, here's a pipe clamp. These are one of the more economical clamps you can get. They're fumbly, they're kind of difficult to use sometimes. And you buy the clamp, and then you have to buy the pipe. The pipe needs to be threaded on at least one end. And yeah, they're fussy to use. And I can see that this one, the tail is on the wrong side. Now what you can do with these is you can make them an unlimited length, because I've got a coupler here. I can screw on as much pipe as I want for what I need. And this end just slides. I need to turn it around. It's just got some very rudimentary, it's not complex, it's just got some plates here that grip onto the pipe, so I can squeeze it. You can move it this way, you can move it this way, but when you try to push it back, which is the way you want to clamp, it's more difficult. But what you need to do, you only have this much play to clamp it, so you need to get it close and then put it on, and then I'll just line it up. I've already got this one side on. That should work. Okay, hope you can see. Put it on the end. Yeah, it's going to work. So you can see, let's cut it at the bottom there. The pipe, then the screw. And you can clamp with a pipe clamp. You can clamp an amazing amount of pressure with these. So if you want a clamp that's economical, and you want a clamp that's very robust and very long, pipe clamp might be your deal.